Hey everybody, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining with me today. So, I am lately so obsessed with art and music history, and so today we're going to focus on music, not art. But it just kind of goes hand in hand, the two. So, I think it's a really good idea for every musician to um learn about art history because very interesting. So anyway, we're gonna go through the different musical eras. We have the Middle Ages, Renaissance, the Baroque, the Classic, and the Romantic and the Modern. And that is where we are up to at this point. So we're gonna start from the very beginning. I plan to do kind of like maybe a 3, 4 part series of what you need to know about the history of music. So during the Middle Ages, the plan chant. Oh my gosh, I can't say that word. Plain chant. Plain chant. So it's just like how it is. It's a chant usually of Latin religious words. So the Middle Ages, we see the most famous Gregorian church chant Kyrie form. And basically, we're going to listen to a quick example. But this was during Charlemagne's ruling, so very religious, male, choir, harmonic. Women were not actually able to sing nor make music. So this is very consonant. Consonant is basically is uplifting music. It was made to really reflect the sacred, the divine, the feeling. Besides that, it's mostly melismatic, which means many syllables to a word. So Middle Ages, very basic religious in this time period, obviously very in religious control, very this, very that. Not much happening, very traditional. So this is an example of like a chant that we see during the period. So very free flowing, as we can see here. Monophonic, which means there's like a one line of melody, and it's a cappella. A cappella all male choir. Actually, during this period, we see very interesting things. For example, only males could sing, and they had all the spectrum. So from soprano to bass and tenor. And to a soprano, sometimes people would cut off their bolitas, so that their voice wouldn't drop. Moving on from the Middle Ages, as you guys know, it's kind of a dark traditional period. Now we're moving on to the Renaissance. So, secular music is actually music that is not made for sacred purposes, and non-secular is religious music, basically. All right, the Renaissance. We love the Renaissance. Sort of. This isn't the most fascinating nor interesting period, but it's definitely a shift. It's a shift from breaking modern, or not modern, traditional methods. All right, the Renaissance is from the 1420s to 1520, so this lasted about 100 years. Now, there was still religious core beliefs, except it shifted to a more personal connection to God. Artists developed and preferred realism, profile portraiture, discovered landscape. This is actually interesting because people started seeing the corruptness of the religious institute as a whole. That's why they shifted to have more of a personal connection. So this might be so I think around here we see, churches split off and start to populate the areas, and They're still very popular religious beliefs, so very religious still. Uh-uh. This is actually one of the first times that we see music go to a more secular way, and also people shifting beliefs to rely more on science and reason. Mm-mm. There was actually an awakening during this period called humanism. So, the music in this period were gliding melodies. It was the golden age of a cappella, imitation, fuller chords, and thirds and sixths. Here, so the Middle Ages was very monophonic, which means one melodic line, but we see this shift, and now polyphony is starting to become a thing. So polyphony is multiple melodies, or it can even counterparts, counter melodies. But not everyone liked that type of music. It was very new. But you know what? Poet musicians flourished and used notation. Notation, writing down music. And what was interesting too is during this era, from the Crusades, from different types of wars and conflicts, soldiers actually brought in new music, instruments, literature, and knowledge from other countries that they have visited. So this really helped the Renaissance sort of open up their mind to be thinking that there's people outside of this bubble that may have something new to offer. In this time, we see secular music be more brought to ceremonies, tournaments, campaigns, and also stories and song start to become a thing. All right, we're gonna see another example. This is called Italian Madrigal, and it's like a story. So here we have da, the translation. Truly I want to die, now that love I am kissing the beautiful mouth of my beloved. Ah, dear sweet tongue, give me such nectar that I expire from your sweetness on your breast. So this is really, shifting. People are awakening to science, reason, to more story, polyphony. Very beautiful. We're gonna see this, and hopefully I don't get copyrighted, so I might talk over it a little bit.
Sì, io vorrei morire,
And
io
also,
vorrei
Italian,
morire,
Italy was
io
definitely the powerhouse of opera, but it did expand to other countries. Oh, this is another really good song from the Renaissance era. It's called Fair Phyllis, and this is a cute little English poem song and very rhythmic, duple meter and shifts to triple and back. In this we can actually hear some imitation. And also word painting. Word painting is basically like expressing the word within singing. This is also a cappella.
Things are so sitting all alone. Feeding a flock near to the mountain side. Fair things are so sitting all alone. Feeding a flock near to the mountain side.
Yes, so that's a good example. Also, I am on the website Norton. It's where you can buy a bunch of like online interactive books. So if that interests you, I really highly recommend for you to check out the website because I absolutely love this textbook. Not only does it give me the textbook, it also gives me listening quizzes that I can take. So we have some religious transformations here. Da, da, da. Look at that beautiful painting that was done during the Renaissance era. Love it. Let's see. Listen to this.
Gloria in excelsis Deo.
Nice. So we're still like very much in that religious chant era. Mm-mm. throughout the beginning of the Renaissance, but towards the end, we see some dance music happening, and this is very groundbreaking. Breaking. In the early times, instrumental music was largely an oral tradition that relied on the improvisation skills of players. Much of our knowledge of the instruments and performing practices come then from artworks and historical documents rather than notated music. So strings, woodwinds, brass, percussion, and keyboard. Among the most common soft instruments were the recorder, the lute, uh-uh, the sackbut, which is an early version of a trombone, and the cornetto, a wooden instrument with finger holes like a recorder, but a cup-shaped mouthpiece. So these basically made up the Renaissance band, and these were the starts of what we know as the orchestra today. There was also percussion instruments, including the tabor and the nakers. So yeah, these combinations of sound, rather than melodies, trumpets served mostly as sonic reinforcement at public events and were integrated into the orchestra only from the later 1600s. So they actually didn't use the trombone for musical purposes. They were like, come pay your taxes, bitches. And so interesting. I think we're about to hear that right now. Let's listen to it. The Three Dances is called. Our most famous composers was Hildegard, Notre Dame composers, so the school, Macut, and that name, the bottom. Josquin de Prez and Palestrina, Susado, and Farmer. The melody. So the melody was very conjunct, small range, and occasional expressive leaps. Arch, smooth, asymmetrical lines, and expressive chromaticism. The rhythm and meter was very non-metric and free. So just in this kind of time, they're figuring out what, binary, ternary form is. And there was mostly chant, oreganum, chansom, motet, and mass. Very religious, but we also do see some secular music, such as dance music. And basically, the only time music was really performed was at church, court, or at home, or in celebrations. So I'm going to go ahead and end off this video by showing some art around this time. Let's search up Middle Ages. So, talking a little bit about the art during this time, again, it was very religious. It was also very realistic, and it mostly depicted kings, political, religious figures, and etc. So, this would be a good example of a medieval slash Renaissance painting. Oh my gosh, this one's so weird. But yes, this is also a good example of classic art. Because Henry, I forgot the number, but this dude was ruling, so he had lots and lots of portraits done for him. But anyway, you guys, thank you so much for watching. That is the end of my video. In the next, we will do the Baroque era. And we might hit classicism or the classical era. But yeah, thanks for watching. Stay tuned.